On this channel and also throughout channels covering UNC football, the conversation has been primarily based around the quarterback battle between Max Johnson and Connor Harrell, which is a pivotal conversation because you need to have a leader of a football team, and the quarterback position is probably the most important position on the football team. And throughout that battle, there has been a conversation about the potential of North Carolina using two quarterbacks and running somewhat of a two quarterback system with both Max and Connor. And yesterday, I happened to listen to an ESPN segment through a few different pundits on there. One of them being a former wide receiver in the NFL, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers' current quarterback situation, which is very identical to that of North Carolina when they have the battle between Justin Fields and also Russell Wilson. And the question was on that show, hey, should the Steelers use a 2 QB system with their offense this year, considering what the two quarterbacks could do? And the former wide receiver that was on there happened to say this, that it is detrimental to wide receivers having to consistently go back and forth between different play styles because they model their play style around their QB. They know when to break open routes, they get that feel with that quarterback, and they know where to go. When you're constantly changing leaders like that consistently, it can really screw with the wide receiver. So today, I want to bring up why it is important that the wide receivers have a solidified QB by the start of the season. First off, let's bring upon play style. Connor and Max are very different players. Even though they might have some similarities, they're extremely different players. Max Johnson, 6'5", 225 quarterback, has really been known to be a pocket passer. Now, don't get me wrong, he does show a little bit of athleticism. I could definitely see that when I was at the spring game, and I'm pretty sure there are clips up from the spring game that you can see that the people have posted on there. But we know Connor is the complete opposite. He's 6'1", 200 and some odd pounds, and he is a very mobile quarterback. He's a dual threat quarterback guy who can get out, he can run, he can use his legs, but also having the ability to throw on the run as well as something that he has tried to add in to his game. So if you're a wide receiver for North Carolina, the two quarterbacks offer two almost totally different play styles. As a wide receiver, when the ball is thrown to you, ball placement is a big key thing. That is something that we saw Connor struggle with, especially in that bowl game on checkdowns, especially for some odd reason. He had an issue putting the ball in right areas. So when you're a wide receiver, you've got to be able to trust your quarterback and have that familiarity going into a game, a season for that matter, of, okay, when I do my slant, I know I can expect the ball here. Or when I'm out there and I'm going one-on-one with the defender, I know if I put myself in this position that the QB's got me in this position. So it's very key to have that familiarity with the guy throwing the football. Now, thankfully, North Carolina's got a couple of non-conference games like Charlotte and NC Central, JMU to a lesser degree, where they can have some time to really test this thing out. But they start out in Minnesota this year. And if you've listened to the wide receivers, John Copenhaver, the tight end, talked about this the other day. I'll take it all the way back to the spring practice that they showed it live on the ACC network. J.J. Jones was on the sideline being interviewed, and he was being asked about what it was like with Max and Connor. And one of the things he kept bringing up about Max is that it's different. It's a new way to kind of learn how the football's coming to you when it's being thrown by a left-handed person. We got to keep in mind, Max Johnson isn't a right-handed guy, so that's another added component on this that these wide receivers and tight ends and running backs to a lesser degree are having to understand, because when the ball comes out of a left-handed person versus a right-handed person, which primarily wide receivers are typically used to, it looks a little bit different. The spin might be a little bit different, and they might have to adjust differently than what they normally would with a right-handed quarterback. So John Copenhaver talked about this just the last week when he's talking about positioning, looking over the shoulder, balls coming up over the shoulder. It comes up over a little bit different coming out of Mac's hands than it did Drake's or Connor's right now. So if I'm a wide receiver for North Carolina, you want this quarterback battle to be solidified pretty quick. And that way you can get familiar with whoever is going to be the captain of the ship, the guy that you're going to be primarily catching footballs from. Because not only will that help really expand your offensive ability, especially going out night one in a big boy game in Minnesota, but it also allows for the wide receiver to even help out the quarterback at certain times. And there's times that a quarterback kind of needs to be bailed out a little bit when they get stuck in sticky situations, whether maybe it be offensive line breakdown or something of that matter. You never know. So the quicker that they can get this thing figured out, the better off the wide receivers, tight ends can be, but also this offense can be as a whole. Because when you've got that connection, and we've saw it over the last few years, when you've got that connection, that quarterback, that specific quarterback wide receiver connection there, it can really open things up for your offense. And what we're wanting to run this year with a team in North Carolina that's really wanting to run the football some, if they don't have, if the quarterback and the wide receivers don't have that connectivity between each other, it could really hurt you in the run game, because people are going to stack up the box and just say, run on us, and dare you to run on them. So they're going to be tested with that night one. That is why I am looking forward to seeing who is going to take the QB1 spot. And with the consistent talk of the 2 QB system, will Mac Brown try to stray away from that, try to get away from that idea over the fact that it could mess with your offense and your wide receivers as a whole? Tell me what you guys think down in the comments. What do you think about the quarterback battle for the wide receivers? Not just the QB battle, but for the wide receivers in this perspective. This is something I didn't really think about all that much until I heard that segment the other day, and it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And you kind of do feel for the wide receivers, because they have spoke about this a few different times, kind of nonchalantly with different comments, like Max Johnson's throwing out of the left hand and how that feels different, Max being on the run and where he likes to put the ball. So with that going on, you kind of feel for the wide receivers to a degree. Now, do I have confidence in our wide receivers being able to pretty much click with just about anybody? Yeah, I do. I feel like we have a really good wide receiving core, but it can mess with them to a certain degree, and you never know when that might show itself. So I think it's important that North Carolina finds a QB and solidifies him pretty quickly right here in the next couple of days. And Mac Brown did talk about 10 or so days before the start of the Minnesota game that he wants to have one solidified. So going to be looking forward to see how that goes. I have confidence in the system, but I feel like it is definitely a topic of conversation to have. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always, go Heels.
You don't want none.